TikTok is the most interesting social media that I have interacted with when it comes to my works on publishing my works because every upload usually has, I would say, a cap of 200 views. If you're a new TikTok user, you're going to know what I'm talking about. If you start on TikTok and you have been posting every day, 5 times a day, got a whole backlog of posts ready to go, only for one post after another to reach that 200, maybe 500 views, then you know what I'm talking about. The viewership is very weird. That's because if you've been studying the TikTok algorithm, that's what TikTok does. It gives you several tiers of viewerships to see if your engagement is good enough. So it'll go on to the next tier of like 500 or 1,000 to 5,000, and then next thing you know, virality. But has been a strategy that people said that sort of worked is post it once and then post it again and then again, because you'll show that content to a different group of 200 people, and maybe one group of 200 people will be good enough for the algorithm to say, hey, let me show it to the next tier of people, and the next tier of people, and then the next tier of people. But at that point, you're in a constant loop of just posting and hoping that the algorithm will treat you right when it should have done so the first time. You're just one person, and I want you to use your time effectively, because you're not just a publisher. You're not just a artist. You're doing everything at once. So you cannot spend more time than you need to just for a social media to do what it's supposed to do. So I have experimented with different types of content. I have posted edits. I have posted carousels. I have also posted motion comics on TikTok. And they've all done similarly. I tend to notice that my carousels, my gallery posts, have higher engagement than the other video formats. And I'll go into deeper right now. I've noticed that the edits they tend to vary in terms of viewership. I would go on CapCut. I would look at a template, and within that template, I would put my comic on. I put different panels where I'm allowed to, and then I see an entire edit that's made up of the images that I provided. Put it on TikTok, and I would see a couple views, a couple people saying that's cool, and that'll be it. And I'm like, okay, I got my dopamine. Maybe I'll do it again. And that's where TikTok gets you. It makes you think that you're going somewhere, but you're actually not. It is the hamster wheel, and it's like a very sophisticated hamster wheel. But when I realized that nothing is really changing, that's why I switched up the content to emotion comics. In motion comics, I would see do the worst, because I tested out Purgatory Academy because I could feel like I could voice probably like the first 5 minutes and see how that goes. And the viewership didn't do all too crazy. It didn't do all too great. And I've noticed that the TikToks that do really well are the ones that have a snappy intro and letting people know what's going to happen, and then the rest is the in-between content that gets you from what's promised in the beginning to what's promised into the end. And with the format of the motion comics, they're slow, and it takes a very patient person, and with TikTok standards, to understand what's going on. And this made me realize why carousel posts are very important when it comes to the TikTok algorithm, because it's not too crazy for me to get, I would say, 1,000 views on a post when it's just me posting the pages of on TikTok. Mostly because when on TikTok you just scroll up, and when you don't see that instant dopamine of like, oh, this is new, this is cool, you tend to swipe up. But when it comes to pictures, you you see the cool art, the audience sees the cool art, and they just flip through the entire thing. They don't read it. I'm sure they don't read it, but the algorithm notices that they're going from page 1 to page 2 to page 3. And I've noticed, looking at the analytics, that people stay on the pictures, the picture carousel, longer than they do on the edits and on the motion comics. And I say all of this, and this is kind of a sad thing to say, but I would not spend that much time on TikTok, because the audience on TikTok is so flaky. They don't want to leave the app. And not only that, they don't want to leave the app doesn't want other people to leave the app, as I said before, in the different modules. And there is a difference between TikTok not wanting people to leave the app and the way that how they implement it. The way that they implement it is that they do not allow hyperlinks to work. You have to be a very special user to have hyperlinks with the app, and telling people, hey, if you want to read more, go to my playlist. Oh yeah, and playlists are another thing that's blocked out to new users. You have to be a proven creator to have people have a better experience to read your content on the app, which is ridiculous. You can't have a hyperlink to show people where else they can find you or subscribe to your newsletter, which is also ridiculous. And all this to wrap it up on a pretty pink bow is that TikTok it can be a very cool way for a wide array of people to discover your content. But the reality is, people on TikTok, they are a similar branch to like Twitter. They're very akin to like Twitter, where they don't want to leave the site. The attention span is very snappy, and the people that you want are the people who is in it for the long haul. They see the content. They need to see a glimpse of that content. They see that you know how to draw, or you know how to tell a story, and they want to leave that site to follow your newsletter, and then they'll be hooked for as long as they have as long as they provide you their email, or as long as they don't unsubscribe. With TikTok, that is not possible. But the one great thing that I do like about TikTok is any social media is that it provides analytics of the audience, where they from, where they leave off at. The analytics on TikTok is pretty good, but like I said, it is unfortunate that those analytics are for naught, because you can't do anything with that audience when you can't get them to leave or have them provide your email to take off that site and to grow your audience. Because the audience of TikTok, they do not equal an audience on Facebook or an audience on any long-standing platform, I should say. So that's my experience of TikTok. And if you have your own experience of TikTok, in this course, share your experience down below.